The airline won't tell you this. A tiny 1/8-inch tear on your passport? You're banned. A $7 entry fee? That is a $3,500 nightmare waiting to happen. The system is rigged. They are banking on your ignorance, while they might owe you $1,550 in cash for your trouble. Stop. The airport is a minefield of hidden regulations and digital traps. You need to use these 9 rules to survive with your money and your freedom intact. Here is Rule 1 of 9. Starting soon, a mandatory $7.50 entry fee will be required for travelers to Europe. But digital predators are already turning that small change into a $3,500 catastrophe. Joseph, a 42-year-old accountant from Chicago, was finally landing at Stockholm Arlanda Airport for his long-awaited vacation. He thought he was prepared. He had paid the new fee on what looked like an official government site weeks before his flight from O'Hare. But when the border agent at the booth scanned his document, the screen flashed a cold, hard red. Denial. The website Joseph used was a sophisticated clone. It didn't just steal his $7. It harvested his credit card data and drained his entire checking account while he was 30,000 feet over the Atlantic. Joseph stood at the gate, fuming, as he realized his hotel money had vanished into thin air. They are banking on your ignorance of the digital landscape. Thousands of copycat sites now charge 10 times the actual price for a simple travel authorization. To stay safe, you should only use the official European Union portal, ending in .europa.eu. You must ignore the sponsored links at the top of your search results. If the price is anything higher than €7, roughly $7.50, it is a scam. Stop. Check the URL before you type a single digit of your card number. While most people navigate the system, the fear of a locked bank account is very real. Joseph eventually cleared security after paying the real fee, but his budget was destroyed before he even left the terminal. Cheap click. Expensive mistake. But losing cash is just the start of the nightmare. What happens when the numbers on your passport don't mean what you think they mean? That brings us to Rule 2, the passport expiration lie. Rule 2 of 9. Check your passport expiration date this very second. Daniel, a 28-year-old teacher from Baltimore, stood at the check-in counter at BWI, his suitcase packed for a dream trip to the Greek islands. He had saved for 2 years for this exact moment. The agent looked at his document and frowned. She didn't hand back a boarding pass. Instead, she said the words that crushed his soul. "I cannot let you board this aircraft." Daniel was stunned. His passport didn't expire for another 5 months. He thought he was perfectly safe. He was wrong. The airline won't tell you this, but the expiration date on that blue book is often a lie. Daniel watched his plane fly away from the gate, losing $2,000 in non-refundable hotel bookings. Total devastation. Here is the reality of international travel. Most countries in the Schengen area and large parts of Asia will not let you cross their border if your passport expires in less than 6 months. They want a buffer in case you are hospitalized or delayed by a natural disaster. If you have 5 months left on your document, in the eyes of the border agent, you have 0. The system is rigged because airlines are banking on your ignorance. They face fines of up to $5,000 for flying inadmissible passengers, so they will leave you at the gate without a second thought. To fix this, always renew your passport at the 9-month mark. You should visit the official State Department website only to avoid processing scams. Don't be a victim of a calendar mistake. Understand that rules vary by destination, but gambling your vacation on a gate agent's interpretation of a 3-month versus 6-month rule is a losing bet. Preparation is your only shield against the fine print. Daniel's trip died because of a date on a page. But even a valid passport won't save your family if you don't understand the rules for the smallest travelers. That is next in Rule 3, the minor trap. Rule 3 of 9. James, a 51-year-old architect, stood at the check-in counter at Vienna International Airport, his 7-year-old son clutching a toy airplane. The agent scanned the boy's passport and froze. She shook her head slowly. "I'm sorry, sir, but your son cannot board this flight to New York." James felt a cold shiver run down his spine. His own passport was valid for another 4 years. How was this even possible? He was trapped in Austria. The airline won't tell you this until you are standing on the terminal carpet. James assumed his son's passport lasted 10 years, just like his own. He was wrong. U.S. passports for minors under the age of 16 expire in just 5 years. It is a short-term document designed to account for how fast a child's face changes, but it catches thousands of parents off guard every summer. By the time James saw the date, the gate was closing. Here is the fix for this common disaster. You must audit your family's documents 90 days before takeoff. If you find yourself at the airport with an expired child's passport, do not panic. Ask the gate agent for the nearest U.S. Embassy location immediately. Embassies can often issue emergency, limited validity passports within 24 hours for citizens in a bind. You will miss your original flight and pay a heavy rebooking fee, but you won't be stranded for weeks in a foreign country. Reality check. Agents cannot ignore federal laws. A dead passport is a total stop. James spent an extra $400 on a hotel and emergency processing fees, but he got the papers and flew home the next day. He was lucky. James saved his trip, but even a valid passport won't protect you from the digital ghost in the machine. Wait until you see what happens when the physical stamp disappears entirely. That is Rule 4, the digital shadow. Rule 4 of 9. Do you really think your privacy begins and ends with that paper book in your pocket? Many travelers believe that if there is no physical ink on a passport page, the government isn't keeping track of their stay. Evelyn, a 39-year-old graphic designer, thought exactly that when she landed at San Francisco International. She noticed the officer didn't even reach for a stamp. No ink, no date. Just a quick glance at a camera and a nod. Evelyn felt a wave of confusion. If there is no stamp, how does she prove she didn't overstay her 90-day limit? The airline won't tell you this, but they are banking on your ignorance of the digital trail. The truth is, your stamp is now a digital entry in a database you probably didn't know existed. Forgetting your exit date because you can't see it on paper is the easiest way to get banned from a country for a decade. Stop. Here is the fix you need. For travel within the United States, you must manually check the official I-94 website to see your Admit Until date. For the European Union, the new Entry-Exit System, or EES, does the same thing. Don't guess. Set a calendar alert for 3 days before your legal stay expires. Most people miss this because they are looking for a physical mark that isn't coming. Understand this. While biometrics feel invasive, they actually prevent manual entry errors that used to ruin vacations. Evelyn checked her digital record on her phone and realized she had 3 fewer days than she thought due to a leap year calculation. She avoided a massive fine and a potential ban. But knowing your dates is just the beginning. You are prepared for the digital eyes, but what happens when the machine decides your face is a lie? That is Rule 5, the biometric mismatch. Rule 5 of 9. Biometric e-gates at major international hubs like Frankfurt can flag you if your current face deviates by just 10% from your digital passport record. It sounds like science fiction, but it is a daily reality for thousands. Ella, a 34-year-old data scientist from Austin, found this out the hard way. After a grueling 10-hour flight from Texas, she stood before the glowing scanner at Terminal 1. She was exhausted. Her hair was a mess. She was squinting under the harsh fluorescent lights of the terminal. The machine whirred. It hesitated. Then, it beeped loudly, signaling a mismatch. The system is rigged to prefer a perfectly neutral expression, which Ella definitely didn't have after 4,000 miles in economy class. She felt the eyes of the entire line on her back as a security guard approached. Frustrating? Absolutely. The airline won't tell you this, but your travel face needs to match your official face precisely. They are banking on your ignorance to keep the lines moving at high speed. Stop. Don't panic if the light turns yellow. If the E-gate rejects you, it usually forces a manual check by a human officer. Here is the fix. When you approach the camera, you must remove your glasses, hats, and even heavy scarves. Mimic your passport photo exactly. Keep your eyes level and your mouth closed. If you are flagged like Ella was, do not argue with the machine. Step aside quietly and wait for the human officer. They have the final say, and being polite can speed up the process by 20 minutes. Ella eventually cleared customs, but the delay cost her a missed train connection to Munich. Appearance is a test you have to pass every time you cross a border. You just survived the biometric trap, but that is nothing compared to the physical damage that can end a trip in seconds. That brings us to Rule 6, the 1/8 inch disaster. Rule 6 of 9. Check the edges of your passport cover right now. A tiny rip can end your vacation before you even leave the airport. Sarah, a 26-year-old nurse, was finishing a dream assignment in Europe. She arrived at Prague Arlanda Airport for her flight back to JFK, feeling exhausted but happy. At the gate, the agent scanned her ticket. Then he stopped. He looked at the bottom corner of her passport book. Sarah watched as he shook his head with a look of genuine pity. A 1/8 inch tear was visible on the bottom edge of the cover. Just a small flap of blue fabric hanging loose. To Sarah, it was just normal wear and tear from a busy month of travel. To the airline, it was a mutilated document. They refused to let her board the aircraft. Suddenly, the vacation became a logistical nightmare. The airline won't tell you this, but they face heavy federal fines for transporting passengers with damaged identification. Sarah was stuck in the Czech Republic. No flight, no way home. She spent 6 hours in a cold terminal office before being told to leave the airport. Stop. Here is the fix. Never travel without a sturdy, protective passport sleeve. If your passport has even a minor rip, do not attempt to fix it with tape. That looks like a forgery and will get you detained for questioning. Instead, find the nearest U.S. embassy. They can often issue a temporary emergency passport in about 24 hours. Sarah had to pay $150 and wait 2 days in a local hotel, but she finally got home. A frayed cover is a massive risk to your freedom. Don't take it. Sarah saved her trip, but what if the airline is the one that breaks the rules? You need to master your rights before the gate agent tries to hand you a useless sandwich. That is Rule 7, the overbooking leverage. Rule 7 of 9. Noah, a 47-year-old lawyer, arrived at Warsaw Chopin Airport 2 hours before his flight to Phoenix. He had his boarding pass. He had his seat assignment, 14B, ready on his phone. But at the gate, the scanner light flashed a bright, angry red. The agent didn't even look up at him. "We're full," she said flatly. Noah had been bumped. Stop. This is exactly where they are banking on your ignorance of international law. The airline overbooked the flight and sold his seat twice to maximize their profit. Now he was stuck in Poland while his connecting flight in London was preparing for departure. The airline offered him a $15 food voucher for a small sandwich at the airport cafe. That is a trap designed to make you go away quietly. Most people just take the voucher and sit on the floor for 8 hours. But here is the truth they don't want you to know. If you are denied boarding for a reason that is not your fault, like overbooking, they might owe you enough money for a second vacation. In the United States, involuntary denied boarding compensation can reach 400% of your one-way fare, capped at $1,550 in cold, hard cash. Since Noah was at Warsaw, European rules known as EC 261 applied. For long-haul flights, that is often €600 or roughly $650. Noah stayed firm. He didn't yell, but he asked for a written statement of his rights. Suddenly, the agent's tone changed from dismissive to helpful. Reality check. This does not work for weather delays or air traffic control issues. But for overbooking, it is your strongest leverage. Noah got his cash and a flight 4 hours later. He turned a disaster into a $650 win. But even a fat check won't help if the police think you are someone you aren't. That leads to Rule 8, the solo parent red flag. Rule 8 of 9. Have you ever considered that traveling alone with your own child could get you detained in a security room? Theodore didn't. He thought a weekend trip was just a simple getaway to see family. He arrived at Minneapolis-St. Paul International with his 6-year-old daughter. At the gate, everything changed in a heartbeat. The agent looked at Theodore. Then she looked at his daughter. No mother was present for the trip. In 2026, solo parents are a major red flag for authorities looking for human trafficking or custody disputes. The airline won't tell you this, but they are banking on your ignorance of international security protocols. Theodore's heart raced as the agent asked for a notarized letter of consent. He didn't have one. He showed a birth certificate he had saved as a photo on his phone. It wasn't enough. Theodore spent 2 hours in a side office while agents verified his identity and called his ex-wife to confirm the trip was authorized. Here is the fix. You must always carry a notarized consent to travel form signed by the other parent. It must include the specific travel dates, flight numbers, and emergency contact info. If you have sole custody, you should bring the original court documents with the official seal. Don't rely on phone photos. Digital copies are often rejected by border agents who require physical proof. Theodore eventually made his flight, but the stress ruined the first 2 days of his vacation. This is where the system can truly hurt you. Being prepared is the only way to stay in control of the situation. While most agents won't ask, being the one they do pick can cost you your entire trip. But even the best paperwork won't help if your passport is already dead. That brings us to our final secret. Rule 9, the 72-hour resurrection. Rule 9 of 9. Roughly 25% of international travelers never check their passport expiration until 24 hours before takeoff. If you discover your passport is expired the night before your flight, you have exactly one chance to save the trip from total failure. Liam, a 22-year-old software developer in Boston, found this out the hard way at 11 p.m. He was packing for a dream trip to London when he saw the date. The gold numbers on the page didn't match the current year. His passport had expired 30 days ago. The airline won't tell you this, but your $1,200 ticket is now just a piece of scrap paper. Most people would just give up and cry. Stop. Don't do that yet. Liam knew he had one high-stakes move left. He searched for the nearest regional passport agency. Boston has one located in the Tip O'Neill Federal Building. Here is the fix you need for an emergency. You must prove you are traveling within 3 business days to qualify for an urgent appointment. Liam refreshed the official government appointments site every 10 minutes. At 2:14 a.m., a slot opened due to a cancellation. He gathered his birth certificate, new photos, and proof of his flight from Logan International. He arrived at the agency at 8 a.m. sharp the next morning. He paid the $190 standard fee and a $60 expedite fee. By 2 p.m. that afternoon, he had a fresh passport book in his hand. Reality check. These appointments are rarer than a free first-class upgrade on a holiday weekend. You must have a confirmed appointment. They are strictly reserved for travel within 72 hours. Liam got lucky because he didn't wait for morning to take action. He acted while the rest of the city was still asleep. Panic costs you money, but speed saves your vacation. If you don't know these rules, the airport system will take your cash every single time you fly. The airlines hate that you know these secrets. Hit subscribe to keep winning against the system and travel like an insider.